Hello, and welcome back to the Hot Action Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kerr, and I need to describe to you what happened last week. Unfortunately, the website I use to make my picks for the pickem contest has switched over to its playoff format, so all of the data is gone regarding what picks I made last week. They're all available on YouTube, but for the purposes of this video, I'll be doing most of this from memory. And the specific games won't matter as much as the story here. So, we went into last week leading the Pick'em contest. I had 151 wins and 105 losses. After the Friday games, or the Saturday games rather, I was 1-1 and still in the lead by one pick. Then after the morning games, I had acquired a few more wins, and I was still one win ahead of the second place team. Then it got to the afternoon, and that's where everything fell apart for you, boy. I went 1-4 in the afternoon and slipped 2 spots behind players named Army and Mike the Moose. I had been fighting Army for the lead for weeks and weeks, and ultimately, everyone near the top had the same bet for Sunday Night Football. We all were on Detroit, and Detroit managed to cover, so I finished the year in third place in the Pick'em contest and finished with 158 wins and 114 losses. Went 7-9 in the final week. One of my worst weeks of the year. I believe there was another 7-9 in there somewhere. But altogether, it was an excellent year. Took down $200 in this pick'em contest, including $250, including prize for finishing in the top 3 one week. So yeah, it was tough to watch my prize drop from $900 to $200 in one afternoon after such a good year, but ultimately can't be too upset. Took home some money and made a lot of good picks along the way. Also, in terms of best bets, I went 3-5 last week. Finished the year 51 for 85. Unfortunately, there's a missing week. I went 4 of 5, but I can't count it if I didn't declare it on the show. So we're not going to count it. We're going to count my best bets as 51 out of 85. If you were following my bets, you should be making money. This is a pretty good rate on against the spread bets, my friends. So, not upset, but a little upset. And now, we've got Wildcard Weekend coming up. There isn't a lot to talk about this week. It's going to be a pretty short video. Yeah, that's going to be about everything recap-wise. And, let's get into picking this week. I'm going to do a full season in review after the Super Bowl, I believe. But for now, we're going to do our Wildcard Weekend bets against the spread. And because there's only 6 games, I'm going to consider them all best bets. These are not... there's no need to do best bets at this point in the year. So, we're going to have to pick everything as judiciously as we can. All right. First game of the week, we got the Chargers at Houston Texans. Houston Texans are getting 2.5 points at home. Both these teams scare me a little bit, but Houston has a pretty large negative point differential against playoff teams, and I kind of am really liking the momentum I'm seeing from the Chargers. I'm going to take the Chargers minus 2.5. Next up, we've got Pittsburgh and Baltimore. This is a tough one. Baltimore is giving up 9.5 points at home. That is a big line for a playoff game. Now let me talk this through a little bit. Baltimore, massive positive point differential against playoff teams. I believe it's plus 44 if I remember correctly. They've been blowing out playoff teams all year. They've been good down the stretch. Pittsburgh started out pretty hot. I think they started 10-3, but they've lost their last 4 games in a row, so they ended up 10-7. Limped into the playoffs. Looking pretty sluggish. I don't really know what to do here. I think the thing that makes me want to act is that it is a 9.5 point divisional playoff game in prime time, so it sounded like a rule game to me. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I will not be particularly surprised if this goes Baltimore's way. Another thing to remember as well is Lamar Jackson has had trouble winning playoff games, even when he's the favorite. Hopefully he gets over his brain fog and blows Pittsburgh out, but in the meantime, I will be betting on Russell Wilson and Mike Tomlin to not let Baltimore blow them out. Maybe the Steelers can sneak out a victory, who knows, but yeah, I don't feel great about this. I'm going to hold my nose and take Pittsburgh. All right, now we've got Denver at Buffalo. Sunday morning game. Buffalo is giving up 8.5 points at home. So they think this is going to be slightly less tilted than the last game. Buffalo got to rest a lot of their starters in Week 18. So they're coming off a mini bye. They've been blowing teams out. They're absolutely assaulting teams. I really have liked what I've seen out of Denver a lot. They seem to be a cover machine. So I'm tempted to take the points here. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take the points. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo was able to pull out a dominant display. The Wildcard Weekend does tend to have some really crazy one-sided games. But for whatever reason, I think that the kind of marginal teams are not that bad at this point in time. So I don't know why. I feel like the points look pretty attractive in a lot of these games. All right, now we're going to see Green Bay versus Philadelphia. I was very high on Green Bay at certain points in the season, but watching the last few weeks, it's weird, right? Because they could smoke a team like New Orleans, who are, admittedly bad, but then, they struggle against the Bears. That's not the type of thing you want to see out of your playoff teams. I think Philadelphia has really figured their stuff out. I think I might be taking Philly. They are the home team in the playoffs. It's going to be tough to play there. But yeah, this will a decent amount of points. I'll be taking Philly. And all of these seem a bit tough to me. So let's see how this continues going. Now we got Washington at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is giving up 3.5 points at home. For whatever reason, I like Tampa Bay's experience, their maturity. I believe, if they played this game 50 times or 100 times, Tampa Bay would win by 3.5 60 times. So we're going to take Tampa Bay. Minus 3.5. I think that makes sense. All right, and finally we have Minnesota at the Rams. The Rams are getting 1.5 points in the contest. One thing that is confounding is, unfortunately, the wildfires in LA continue to rage, as far as I understand. And for the purposes of this video, that might move the home game to Arizona, maybe? Either way, I think I'll be taking the Rams plus 1.5. Because I think Minnesota has earned the right to a lot of respect, but might as well just take the home team, getting points. This Rams team is real frisky. They can beat anybody on their day, so might as well take the 1.5, see what happens. Alright, this has been my quick and dirty Wildcard Weekend preview and season review. Thanks for watching, and see you next week. This has been the Hot Action Podcast. Peace.